Hello once again. I will now be giving you the explanation of chapter 37 of the novel Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne. The reader might be well aware of the fact that now it was Fogg and Auda who had sent Passepartout on the errand to go and fetch the Reverend Samuel in order to get them two married, to take an appointment for the next day, which they were presuming to be the Monday. And they had sent Passepartout to fetch the Reverend Samuel and take an appointment for him to get the two of them married. Of course, we all know Passepartout is a servant who can be trusted totally. So he rushes off, even without bothering to wear his hat, etc. He rushes off. He is totally excited, very thrilled at the fact that finally his master is going to get married to the beautiful Indian princess Auda. So he rushes off out of the house in order to go and speak to the Reverend Samuel and fix an appointment for the next day when his master has decided to get married. Now, when he goes off, he reaches the clergyman's house, but unfortunately the clergyman is not there. He waits over there for almost 20 minutes. So it is almost 8:30ish or so when he suddenly rushes out of the clergyman's house, banging across everybody that he comes on the road, jumping over people, over clients, over horses, etc., in order to reach the Savile Row, that is the house of his master, and as he has realized that they have made a huge blunder in the days that they took to travel around the world. So now he happens to reach, running at a hasty speed. He takes hardly 3 minutes in which he happens to reach Savile Road, and he goes banging to the door. Master, master, come out of the house. Okay, he is shouting at the top of his voice, and Fogg is quite surprised and taken aback, looking at the reaction of Passepartout. He says, whatever is the matter with you? So Passepartout says, Master, it is impossible for you to get married the next day. So Fogg says, why? He says, because it is a Sunday. Fogg says, that is impossible. Next day is Monday. It is Sunday today. But Passepartout says, no, you have made a great error. It is not Sunday today. It is in fact Saturday. So we have reached almost 24 hours before the time of us to lose the bet. And right now it is 8:35. That means you have another 10 minutes with you in which you need to reach the Reform Club, and you still have a chance where you can win your bet. I mean, you can imagine what Fogg must be going through at that moment when he realizes the fact that he actually has a chance of winning the bet. Obviously, Passepartout doesn't give the master any time to think further. He literally grabs his collar, and he pulls him by the collar, pulls his master literally by the collar. They hail a cab, literally jump into a cab, and they happen to reach the Reform Club exactly at the dot 8:45. That is 8:45 p.m. Okay, and eventually they happen to win the bet. Now the question that is uppermost in their minds is, how could they have made such a big blunder, okay, when they had actually reached on Friday? Okay, remember, for one whole day, literally all of them had, like Auda, Passepartout as well as Fogg, had stayed in their house, locked up inside, without anybody even coming to know that they have returned back to London, because they were assuming that they had already lost the bet. Okay, now that is what Fogg wonders. What has gone wrong? I mean, how come they reached on Friday all this time and he kept assuming that means they had reached on the 20th. Okay, and he and others had been assuming that they had reached on the 21st, which was already the Saturday. Okay, now all these things keep moving around in their minds, but when you calculate it, it comes out to something very simple. See, Phileas Fogg had, without suspecting, gained 1 day in advance, because on his journey throughout he had been traveling eastwards. Okay, he was traveling towards the sun, and that is how he had managed to gain 1 day. He would, on the contrary, have lost a day would he have traveled in the opposite direction, that is the westward direction. Now, in journeying eastwards, he had gone towards the sun, and the days therefore diminished for him as many times, that is 4 minutes, as he crossed each degrees in this particular direction. There are in all 360 degrees on the circumference of the earth, and these 360 degrees multiplied by 4 minutes gives precisely 24 hours. That is exactly 1 day had been gained by Phileas Fogg. This was the fact that he wasn't aware of. Moreover, Phileas Fogg, going eastward, saw the sun pass the meridian 80 times, while his friends who were in London saw the sun pass the meridian only 79 times. And that is why they awaited him at the Reform Club on Saturday and not on Sunday as Fogg had thought. So eventually Fogg happened to reach on time, and thereby he ended up winning the bet. Of course, the bet was of £20,000, which he had won. Now, on the other hand, the entire tour of traveling around the world had costed him £19,000. So you see, he had actually gained a very small amount of £1,000. Even that £1,000, Fogg divided it equally between Passepartout and Detective Fix, whom he also felt pretty sorry for. So he did not really, but another thing that Fogg did was, while he had divided that £1,000 between the two, he also deducted the amount that was wasted by Passepartout, because he had forgotten to turn off the gas light in his room. Okay, that we had seen it in the earlier chapter. So he did this so that some kind of a regularity can be maintained. Okay, he wants to show that he is very particular about certain things. So ultimately that evening everybody is relaxed and sitting comfortably in their rooms, okay, having known the fact that they have won the bet. So Auda talks to Fogg and tells him, okay, so my master, now you have won the bet, so you are once again very rich. So Fogg says, see, I was able to win the bet in which I cannot take the entire consideration, because I feel that all of us have won this bet together. And she says that if I am rich today, it is also because of you. And both of them obviously then decide to get married, and it need not be mentioned here that they get married after almost 48 hours, okay, and it is Passepartout who finally gives the bride away to his master. The next day, when it is light again, you hear there is an urgent knock on the door of Fog. Fog opens the door to see that it is again obviously Passepartout, who is standing in the door, on his door, and saying, Master, Master, I wanted to tell you something again which was very urgent. So Master told him, what is it now this time? He says, so actually Master, we had completed traveling around the world in almost, we could have completed traveling around the world in almost 28 days. So Fox says, oh yes, he is very much aware of the fact, but that could have been possible if they would have not been crossing the entire Indian range. Okay, now he says, now but if we had not taken that particular route, then I would have also not been able to find Auda, and I wouldn't get this wonderful opportunity of getting married to such a beautiful princess. So in the end, as they say, all's well that ends well. Here too, you see, if you give it a thought, I mean, obviously, we feel that Fogg has taken so much of pains. He did not leave a single stone unturned on his entire journey in order to complete it in the stipulated period of time. So, he took the steamer, he took the ship, he took a yacht, he booked an entire train. Sometimes he even traveled on an elephant. So you see the different amounts of, ways and means, difficulties, hardships, hurdles faced by Fogg in order to complete the journey. And all for what? What was his reward? What was his gain? Financially, we don't see him ending up with much money. So what did he actually gain? Okay, now we know what was it that he gained. He gained the true love of his life. And that was Auda, the beautiful Indian princess with whom he fell in love and eventually ended up marrying. Now, don't tell me if you would think that is not reward enough for someone for having traveled around the world. I'm sure if any one of you was in love, would have done the same thing for your better half as well. So as I said, it was all's well that ends well. Eventually they ended up winning the bet, and more than winning it from not gaining anything financially, the best thing that Fogg gained was the love of his life, who would be true and faithful to him, who would be by his side in all his joys and all his sorrows. That is more important reward that he felt that he had gained. And I'm sure we all would also agree to the same. So that is how the story ended, on a happy note. Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne. It was indeed a wonderful adventure that was taken up by Fogg, the eccentric gentleman living in London on Savile Row. And we see, in spite of all the hardships and difficulties he faces, he still manages to win the bet in the end, to keep his valet and faithful servant Passepartout with him, and also to win the love of his life, that was Auda. I hope you all have enjoyed listening to the explanation of this novel, Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne. I sure did enjoy explaining it to you all. If you have liked my videos, please do like and subscribe to my channel, which is on my own name, Sujata Ali. Thank you all once again, and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.